Hello and welcome to my shop in Soho, the Crumbs Doilies shop. It has been so long since I filmed here, so I thought I'd do a little video upstairs in the shop after my cup of coffee out of my Cupcake Jemma mug, which you can buy here, obviously. If you can't get here, don't worry, you can buy all my merch from my website. But I'm going to show you something really, really exciting upstairs, so follow me. Whoop. So I'm here at the shop again. It's been so long, I've missed it here, and I guess you guys have probably missed it too. So welcome back to Soho, and I'm going to show you something. This is kind of similar to something I did a couple of weeks ago, my Raspberry and Lemonade Cupcake, which was a cupcake based on a drink. This is a cupcake based on a different drink, and this is the drink of my childhood. It's a Coke float, which was my absolute favourite thing. When we used to go out for dinner, I was a really fussy eater, so this was perfect because it was the only time my mum would ever allow me to eat like dessert before anything else, because there's a scoop of ice cream in a glass of Coke, and it was absolutely delicious. I love it. In Australia, a Coke float is called a spider. Did you know? Fun fact. You probably did if you're Australian. Anyway, so I'm going to cupcakeify the Coke float for you. I'm going to start with the cupcake, and this is just basically based on the chocolate cupcake that I do, except that I've got an extra special ingredient, which I don't have. Nikki, where's my special ingredient? Here it is. My extra special ingredient, which is, thanks Nikki, which is cola syrup. Now this is the stuff that you use if you have a soda stream, which is something I didn't have growing up, which I'm very sad about, but it's a super concentrated thick syrup which is cola flavoured, and this is perfect because it means that we can use much less and get a bolder flavour. So that's my magic ingredient. I've got a big bowl here, and I'm going to start by mixing my wet ingredients together. So I have 2 large free range eggs to start with. And I have my cola syrup mixed with some water, and I'm going to put all the measurements in the description box below, so go and check that out. That goes in along with my vegetable oil and my buttermilk. Now if you don't have buttermilk, or you can't get it in your country, or you just don't have it to hand, you can use yogurt if you want, or you can kind of make a similar thing using regular whole milk and a little squirt of lemon juice. So you would measure the same kind of weight or milliliterage of milk, and then squirt like the juice of half a lemon in, mix it all around, leave it to sit, and it kind of curdles and thickens up, and it does a great job of impersonating buttermilk, so that's what you can do. Anywho, I'm putting all that in, and now I'm just going to give that a really good mix with my whisk. So now that that's all really well mixed, I'm going to add my dry ingredients, and I have plain flour, cocoa powder and chocolate chips. That'll go in. And also some caster sugar. And lastly, I've got some salt and some bicarbonate of soda. And then using my whisk again, I'm just going to mix that until it's all really smooth. Super easy, right? So now I'm going to put that into a jug, because this is very, very liquidy and runny, and I'm going to make a terrible mess if I attempt to do this straight from the bowl. This will just make your life a lot easier. And then this mixture will make 12 regular sized cupcakes. I've already got my tin here, and I'm going to carefully pour in my mixture. Here goes. And with all my batter in, I'm now going to bake this at 150 degrees C for 20 to 22 minutes until they're nice and springy on the top, or if you stick a toothpick in the middle, it'll come out clean. So my cakes came out of the oven and they're just cooling down, so now I'm going to make my buttercream. And I'm going to make 1 batch of buttercream, but take a little bit out and flavour that one way, and then flavour the rest cola flavoured using my trusty cola syrup. But for now, I'm just going to add my butter. So I've got 200 grams of soft unsalted butter, which as usual, I'm going to beat up until it's really pale and fluffy, and I do that on kind of a medium to high speed for about 5 minutes. There it goes. Now I'm going to add my icing sugar, and I've got 450 grams of icing sugar, which I've sifted already. And as usual, I'm going to put half in, give it a really good beat for a few minutes, and then put the next half in and do the same thing. Okay, this has been going for about 5 minutes now, and I now need to take out a small part of it, and that is going to be the very topping of my Coke Float cupcake. So it's probably going to work out at about a quarter of this batch. Oh, it's quite hard to do with this paddling. Here you go. Blob of that, maybe a bit more. That'll do. And I'm going to just add a small amount of milk and vanilla to that, just to loosen it up as I normally would when I make buttercream. So I have some already mixed together here. I'm just going to kind of do it by eye and give it a little mix and see how I get on. I don't want it to be too stiff, but also not too sloppy. So I'll just go a little bit at a time. Rolling, 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 rolling. So that is my vanilla buttercream, my little blob of vanilla buttercream, and now I'm going to keep this stuff in the bowl and add the cola stuff to it. I'm also going to add this other secret weapon, which I used in my Raspberry Lemonade video, which is citric acid. And you don't need to use this if you don't want to, but it is going to give it a kind of sherbety fizziness, which I really like, and I think you're going to like too. So I'm going to put 1/4 teaspoon in that as well. I'm going to start by putting a tablespoon of milk in, and then a massive 4 tablespoons of this syrup, because it is going to be really, really nice and strong and really cola-y. If you don't want to use that much, please feel free to adjust the amounts. This is just the amount that I like. And then just get that onto a medium speed and beat it all up. Right, this is looking, smelling, and tasting yummy. Yum, that's really good, especially with the citric acid. It has really kind of boosted the pop flavour of it. So I'm going to put this into a bowl and just cover it with cling film and put it in the fridge for about 15 minutes before I get on with decorating. I'm also going to make a filling, so stay tuned. How do I get this off? So I'm back, and I have done a few things in the meantime while I waited for my buttercream to just firm up a little bit in the fridge. I whipped up some filling, and this is simply, in this blue bag, is 100 grams of double cream or heavy cream with a tablespoon of my cola syrup, just to make a really yummy cola filling. I've already made my holes using my trusty apple corer, so I'm just going to go ahead and fill them. Beep. So all my cupcakes are filled, and now comes the fun bit. So normally I would use a piping bag or one of my trusty spoonulars to put the icing on, but because I want to go for an ice creamy vibe, since this is a Coke Float, I am actually going to be using ice cream scoops. I told you I didn't have any of these. Nikki lent them to me, my trusty gal in the background. And I'm going to use these instead. I've got a big one and a little one. You could probably do the same thing. If you don't have a little one, you could use just teaspoons, like scooping out of each other. But I'm going to start with my cola flavoured buttercream, and I'm going to put a nice blob on top of my cupcakes. When I put my little blob on, I give it a little bounce just to make sure that the icing is kind of stuck onto the cake and it's kind of settled on. So once you've done your cola ice cream blob, now you can do your little vanilla blob using the smaller ice cream scoop if you have one, or teaspoons if you don't. And that's just going to go on the top. And I kind of like to think of this as kind of bubbles, the foamy stuff that happens when you put the ice cream into the cola. Here it goes. And then to finish it off, I have some bright red cocktail cherries, and these are gonna make this whole look really pop. So I'm gonna put one on top. And also my trusty stripy straws to make it really look like a Coke float. And there it is, my super cute Coke float cupcake. And it is absolutely delicious and looks really sweet and would make a perfect partner to my Raspberry Lemonade Cupcake as well. I'll put the link to that in the end here, and you can click on that and make them both and have a proper like cupcake beverage party or beverage cupcake party. So please give this a go. If you do, make sure you take a photograph and tag me on Instagram using hashtag Cupcake Jemma or Megafan Monday, and that way I may feature your picture on my own Instagram feed. I'll be back next week with another recipe, so until then I've got a lot of cherries to get through, and I hope that you have fun making this. Bye! It's too much.
It's delicious. I want one.